Welcome to the Good to Know podcast, a podcast showcasing the good things happening in our community. I'm Bill Lunn, and this is my co-host, Paul Reeser, over here. He's a local businessman and member of the Committee of 100. Each podcast will focus on topics and initiatives that have a positive impact on our community. We talk a lot on the news here about some of the bad things that happen, so it's nice to be able to turn that around and talk about some of the more positive things happening around the Shreveport-Bossier area, with new episodes available every other Wednesday, by the way. And you can find Good to Know wherever you listen to podcasts. Paul?
Well, Bill, man, thank you so much for stepping in for the ever active and sometimes absent Jeff Bobfor, who's out today. But we're glad. Thank you so much for stepping in, man. It's good to see you. You're going to bring a level of professionalism. I'm going to have to be on my toes.
I'm gonna try anyway, and I know you guys always do a terrific job together, so it's fun to be able to sit in.
Well, thank you very much.
Here's some good things for a change.
Well, something good. You know, we're coming up on the holiday season, Christmas and Thanksgiving coming up, and I always see these folks ringing the bell, trying to get me to put money in these buckets. And I wonder, who is the Salvation Army? What branch of the military is this? What goes on with the money in those buckets? And what do they do the rest of the year? Well, it turns out there's a lot going on all during the year. And we're going to answer all those questions and more, because today we have the Director of Development for the Northwest Louisiana Salvation Army, Miss Julie Allen.
Thank y'all for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh, thanks, Julie. Is it Captain Julie, General Julie?
Nope, it's just Julie.
Well, that has a nice ring to it, though.
But yes, for Northwest Louisiana, our core officers are the Majors Luna and Pierre Smith. So we're guided by them.
Okay, so there's actual officers in this Army.
Yes, sir. They, depending upon what level of rank you can say, it depends on their level of service. They've actually been with the Salvation Army for over 24 years. Wow. They actually are from Haiti originally, came to the U.S. They have a fantastic story. They're brilliant people. We love having them.
Amazing. That's great.
Well, tell me, like I say, I always wondered, what is the Salvation Army? I mean, is it an army? Is it salvation? You know, what is it? Because I see the red signs and I wonder, is it an actual army? Can you describe it to us a little bit?
In a sense, some days it feels like an army because we have a huge mission in order to help those that need it. We want to make sure anybody who comes to our doors has a hot meal, has a hand to hold them through whatever crisis they may be going through. It's not a branch of the military. It actually started in 1865 on the East End of London. A gentleman by the name of William Booth came out, and he saw those who were tired, who were hungry, who were dirty, who needed a sense of salvation. And he reached out, and they started kind of tent pop-up areas. They had marching bands that would come through to let people know, hey, come see us. We'll give you hot food. We can find a place for you to shower, and maybe listen to a little bit of preaching, because it is a church-based organization. We want to make sure that people feel the love of God, but also know that no matter what your beliefs are, we are not going to discriminate.
There are so many nonprofits out there. They're all trying to get everyone's dollars and so forth. And I think people, they only have so much money that they can just give away. They're feeding their kids, they're feeding their families. They've got sports, sports equipment is through the roof. There are a lot of expenses to living life. So I think they want to know exactly where their money goes to. And obviously at the holiday season, as you mentioned, Paul, you see the folks out there, sometimes in the very cold weather, asking for your donation. And so where exactly does that money go? What does that do in our community?
So I can start off by saying 86 cents of every single dollar that's donated goes back into this community, helping those who need it. Whether it's through our food assistance programs, whether it's through our shelter, because we have our Miracle Center of Hope shelter that serves men, women, families with children, and veterans. Whether it goes through our Boys and Girls Club doors, helping those kids find a safe place that they can be in the afternoon, so they don't have to worry about the shootings that are going around them. They don't have to worry about going home and even knowing whether or not they're going to get a hot meal. But we, as the Army for Northwest Louisiana, serve 8 parishes. So we have outside help that goes to Sabine, that goes to Red River, especially right now since we're coming up on Christmas. We're about to be gearing into our Angel Tree program, which is for kids literally birth to age 12. We actually have some expectant moms that are due in January and February of next year that we're trying to make sure that those kids that are coming into this world have something that's going to be for them. Alongside anything that's donated, we track it. So we know if your donation of $25 came in, we can basically tell you where it's going to go and how it's going to be of service to those in need.
You raise a great point, and that is, and you said it right away, 86 cents on the dollar goes directly to help people. And I think a lot of people don't realize that when you make donations to nonprofits, there are administrative costs, there are all kinds of other expenses. I won't name names, but there was one very well-known military nonprofit that was down to 10 cents on the dollar actually helping those who it was trying to serve. And they've turned that around now, but 86 cents, when you go through that, that's a thing you can examine with charities. And 86 cents, of course, is considered very good.
Exceptionally efficient to me. I know I never could run a hamburger stand with that kind of efficiency. But so I guess I'm understanding this is an international organization, but you have regional offices, and you're serving like the most needy members of our communities.
Yes.
So these homeless people, are these underemployed, or what are the people and how do they find you?
It's homeless, it's underemployed, it's those who even might feel like they're employed at a great level, but due to the high rising cost of food or the electric bills that are now coming out or anything of that nature, they are feeling the tightening of that belt. And so they come to us. We're over on 200 East Stoner. We're right next to a cemetery. It might seem crazy and a little bit scary, but that's home for us. And no matter the need that comes in, whether we can serve it, whether we can find our community partners to help them, we want to make sure that those people are getting the help that they need.
So East Stoner in Shreveport, I have an office in Shreveport now. It's not an East Stoner. I've seen the area though. Why did you choose? I mean, it's not like the most affluent area in Shreveport. Wow,
it's not that far from here.
It's right down the street from here.
It's 5 minutes from here.
Everything's pretty close actually in downtown Shreveport. But why did you choose that location?
So the locations are chosen specifically in the areas that need us most. Those who don't have the facilities to be able to come to us, they can literally walk to our doors. Downtown Shreveport, where we unfortunately see a lot of our homeless population on the side, they're not maybe a 15, 20-minute walk to our doors. And our goal is to make sure that the needy and those who want specific help truly need the help, because unfortunately you hear it where, well, how do they qualify? We go through step-by-step processes based on the grants that we receive, based on the dollars that we receive sometime, because we're restricted funds for nonprofits. They tell us where we need to spend that money. Those funds do help your neighbor next door. They do help those who are hungry and don't know whether or not they need to pay the light bill or feed their kids. They go to the families who want a better life, not only for themselves, but for their children. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean,
thinking of the stories, and I've been with the Army now for a little bit over 3 years.
Can you share one of those stories specifically?
I can. Let me control my emotions for just a half a second. Speaking, actually, when I first came in, COVID is actually when I came through. I joined the team in 2020 of June.
Sure.
We had a family who they were waiting for a room to open up in Carlos Haven, which is a section of our shelter dedicated to women and their children. Once we had a room open and they came through, we found out that they were literally sleeping in the cemetery that was right next to us, because it's the safest spot for them, because no one would mess with them. Right. It broke our hearts, of course. But it's a grandmother and her 3 grandbabies, in which she had taken custody from her daughter because her daughter unfortunately had fallen into drugs and other issues, and these sweet babies, when they came in, literally only had the clothes on their back. And we were able to help her find great employment. We were able to make sure that the girls were going to succeed in school. Of course, find them a bunch of new clothes. They got adopted by Angel Tree, and they got some really great gifts that year. I think the littlest one was about 3, and she squealed with delight because we were able to kind of be a part of a Christmas party with them. And then following up with them, because through our Carlos Haven, we have a program called Pathway of Hope, which follows these families at least a year afterwards, if not longer, if they choose.
Well, and that's another thing I want to ask, because like you started out saying, well, sometimes people want to know where exactly is this money going, and Bill mentioned sometimes these nonprofits can get out of hand where they're not getting all the money, isn't getting where it needs to go.
Yep.
But how can you be efficient to help folks get back on their feet? Because that's I think is the thing. A lot of people, we don't want to just keep them in this system of poverty that they're in. But folks are in trouble once you start going down that path. It's hard to get turned back around. So what is it? Some things that you do to help people get back in the mainstream?
So we kind of referenced that parable when Jesus said, "Are you going to feed a man a meal? Or are you going to teach him how to fish?"
Right.
We are on the philosophy of let's teach you how to fish.
Awesome.
Say we have a gentleman who enters into our shelter, and he needs to find employment. He needs to get back on his feet. We work with him and other local agencies to get all the documentation that he needs for employment. We work to figure out what his trade skills are so that we are finding things that he is good at. Maybe if he needs some counseling or mental health help, we locate other organizations that can help us build that bridge. We also bring in other organizations that help teach financial literacy classes, that help teach the building blocks of basic banking, so that way he knows how to save, he knows how to budget, he knows how to set a good foundation. And when he's ready, participants can stay with us up to 6 months, if not longer, if we do need an extension for specific cases. He has a foundation, so when he leaves us, he's able to feel secure in how he's going, and he can feel like a productive and constructive citizen for Shreveport Bossier, for our area.
You brought up the faith component of there, and I know you briefly touched on it earlier, but I've lived all around the country, and I don't think I've seen a more faith-based community than Shreveport, Bossier, and really the rest of the Arklatex here.
Exactly.
I mean, that is something that matters to a lot of people, and it probably matters when they give away their dollars. They want, many people, not everyone, but many people want to make sure they're giving their money to a faith-based organization. So talk a little bit about that. Like, what is the faith component, and what kind of faith message are the people in the program getting?
So our core officers are actually our pastors. They go through seminary and they get ordained. We actually have church services if anybody wants to join us. We'd love to have you. It is on a stoner. It's on about 10 a.m. on Sundays, but we handle do Bible studies. We do spiritual counseling. When I say we, I basically mean our core officers. Although we do have a couple of our fellow employees that are very much in faith with God and do reach out if they're not available. But we also don't try and push it on those who come in, because some people are hesitant for those when they need, or some people that's what they need. But the organization itself is driven by what God wants us to do, and that's to help our fellow man. And we want to make sure that whenever we do something, we're doing it for how God wants us to do it. Because for a faith-based organization, we aren't the one at the helm. He is.
Wonderful.
Well, it sounds like you guys have some good plans for the money going in the buckets.
Yes,
I got to go back to the buckets again. What do you call? You call them kettles, or?
Yes, they're called kettles.
So I see these people out there jingling the bell. Are they paid? Are they volunteers?
They're both.
Okay.
We prefer volunteers, of course, but we also know that seasonal employment is great for a lot of people in the Arklatex. And they can, right now we're signing up bell ringers for those who want either position. They can actually go to registertoring.com in order to volunteer with us.
You have the ring.com domain name?
Registertoring.com,
wow.
Yes, sir. And the other thing too is if they don't want to get out in those cold elements, because unfortunately the almanac's predicting that, there's other options. They can go to nwlaemptystocking.org and they can fundraise virtually across their Facebook pages, across their emails, whatever they'd like to do.
But if a person wants to get out there and get cold
it could
feel
drop
that
down
Christmas.
drop down into the 50s.
Yes.
I might have to put on a light
heavy
sweater.
jacket, yeah. Maybe some mittens.
Exactly.
For me, well, and so how you have employees versus volunteers? Who raises the most money? Is there a difference?
I have to say our volunteers win hands down.
Wow.
Really?
nice.
I want to say, if you look at the numbers, volunteers bring in 3 to 5 times more than a paid bell ringer, and that's why they're important, because they have the love of wanting to do good. They have the joy of ringing that bell. I mean, and of course you can have fun with it. Dress in your Christmas sweater, play some Christmas music, say Merry Christmas to all the strangers.
When the guy's singing and he looks at me and points,
Right.
you know, I'm like,
Exactly.
I'm going to
Hard
go.
to say no.
I'm going to that, as opposed to the person.
A couple of questions related to that. One, people like me, I hardly ever carry cash. So certainly you guys have probably tried to work around or accommodate that.
We have, you'll see on the kettle stands, there's Google Pay, there's Apple Pay. There's also going to be a QR code that you can scan to donate.
Very good.
So
and no excuse.
No
Don't have
excuse.
cash on me.
That, or if you're running into a grocery store, I mean, you can do cash back.
Right.
I mean, but the thing is, the most important reason why you drop money into that bucket, even if it's 5 cents, is it does help. I mean, your $4 that you might get your fancy cup of coffee from helps do a hot meal for a family, or helps do a hot meal for an individual in our shelter. $25 will feed your neighbor in need for a week. $175 actually will allow somebody to be in our shelter for 2 weeks for free. So it helps.
Absolutely. And I know in having lived around the country that there are these magical stories of somebody who'll drop like a gold coin in, or is there anything like that happens here that you can relate to us? Any special donor or donations that you get traditionally?
My first kettle season, we were going through kettles and there was a check that someone had dropped in for $10,000. Wow. And we have a thing when we're counting cash or counting the money that if there's a $100 bill, we start singing our favorite Christmas song.
Wow.
Well, we sing for a very long time. And that type of, like you said, magical golden coin just reinstills in us the mission, reinstills in us why we do what we do, why it's important to continue service.
And while we're talking about the kettles, the other thing that I think as a news person I've covered over the years is sometimes it's getting harder for you guys to find a place. Some businesses have said, we're not going to do the kettles out front this year, and you guys have to kind of backtrack or figure out a new plan. Has that been an issue that's challenged you?
Not really. I do have to say we have some great national partners who work with us. You'll see us slowly coming into the community based on when they want us in front of their doors. And we are grateful for every minute that we're out there. With those partnerships, we can grow. We're able to meet those individuals who are working those stores, those general managers who are at those stores, and they understand the impact of what we're doing in front of those kettles. Businesses, my bad. We're looking at, we actually can also show them the impact of their store, because we keep track of each location and how well each location does. And we can say, out of all the Walmarts, this one right here is the best. It's the one that gave us the highest amount of donations. And same thing with other businesses in the area. Even if you have a small mom and pop shop, we have tiny tabletop kettles we will highly give you and let you have on your counters throughout the season. And then we can tell you the impact that it had coming into our facilities.
I'm just thinking, my business hat keeps coming on. I'm thinking, can we bonus these folks? Like, if this should be $1,000 bucket, get 50% of everything over $1,000 today. things. Have you ever thought of that, or do you?
Yes.
I mean, I know it's. I don't know. I just go straight to how do we increase this, productivity.
You are such a businessman.
We
He can't help it.
Hey, I love business.
But that does good. It does good to do good. Bonusing is a great way.
I mean,
It
we have
helps both.
companies who actually sponsor Kettle themselves, who say, okay, I'm going to put $1,000 in the bucket, and anything past 1,000, I can match by, say, 20%. We've had a couple individuals who have done that for us, and it's great. It's a great tax return for the business. It's also great for the people in the community to see that, hey, that individual is giving back. That individual wants to make our community better, and they're not just saying it, they're putting their actions into place.
And I definitely want to talk about the other things that y'all do, because you do other cool things. But
Yes.
just one last thing about the kettles. Just a few. I would imagine every time you put even just $1 in the kettle, it just inspires they jing the bell a little louder.
Yes.
It kind of inspires that person that's doing that good work.
Just doing it
And
myself.
it's all adds up. Even every little dollar when you go by. Have you ever been the bell?
I have. I've rung the bell. We actually do an employee challenge. I was over at the Benton Brookshires, and there was actually this little bitty 4-year-old girl who's coming up, hands full of change to come and put it into the bucket. And that it touches you in a way that you see, okay, good. We have someone growing up who's going to know the foundation of giving, the foundation of giving back.
Yeah.
And little kids just touch your heart.
Yeah.
That's just powerful.
I gave a bike away to a kid once over in Bossier, and he went to his house, and he came back, and he gave me a penny. And I was like, I am never getting rid of this penny, because, like you said, it meant so much, and it meant a lot to him to do
pay
that.
for it.
So that's special.
It is. It's very special.
This is so emotionally, obviously touching
You have
to
your
you.
heart
It's
in
not
this.
just a job. So
Nope.
how did you come to this, and what is it like to work at this organization?
It was one of those God closes a door, opens a window moments. In 2020, I got laid off from where I was working originally, and through the power of him working different ways, I was able to actually talk to a member that was on the board. I got interviewed by the member on the board first, and then he said, hey, this is someone who I think you should take a look at. And then I was able, at the time, we had a different set of officers. They were captains, and I was able to speak with him in great detail as to my service background and why I thought I was going to be, of course, good for the position. But what was really funny is my last interview, when I was meeting with our rep at DHQ, I had just gotten married that weekend. So 2020 was a huge year for me.
It was a big year for the
year
world.
we are all not going to forget. Yeah, I mean, COVID certainly changed the way that we do a lot of things. And,
Yes.
and while we're on that, how did it? It changed our business. You didn't used to see Zoom interviews on there.
Right.
Now I just walked past one of our reporters doing a Zoom interview. And it's not just that; it's a lot. We have remote producers now. We have a lot of things changed because of COVID. So what changed for the Salvation Army as a result of COVID? I mean, part of that was that year. It was you couldn't have that face to face, and it impacted you guys then. But what's changed now?
I can tell you we never closed our doors.
Yeah.
That is one thing. If we had individuals coming in need, of course we were wearing our masks and doing PPE protection, but we never closed our doors because we knew that virus was going to cause a greater need.
Yeah.
And we saw a spike in those coming to us for assistance, whether it was utility assistance, rental assistance, food insecurity. And right now we're in the middle of another big spike. We're seeing about a 20% increase for those same needs. We have Americans all around the United States that are suffering, that are living paycheck to paycheck. And with gas prices increasing, with grocery prices increasing, they're wondering, how am I going to make it? And we just want to help where we can. Recently, we just did a food drive because our pantry got very low, and I have to say thank you to those who donated, because we now have about 9,000 grocery items that are on our shelves now that we're able to sustain these families with.
How do people find out about you? Who is it that's coming to your facility every week or every day?
They find out through multiple different ways. We have other community partners in the area who say, okay, this is the organization you need to go to for ABC, XYZ. It's word of mouth between those who are homeless and transient. And then people know the name of the Salvation Army. I mean, we've been around since 1865. It's hard not to know an organization that's been around for that long and to even know the mission. And I know you were leading into other things that we do throughout the year. I mean, we were doing a fan drive for seniors. We have done food boxes through...
Literally box fans for in the summertime, yeah.
Yes, and we were able to partner with Music Mountain and give them a case of water too, which was great.
Which is your neighbor over there.
It is. They are. They're fantastic neighbors, and so is Coca-Cola. But the other thing is people know us from our history. I mean, in World War I, we had donut lassies who were out there providing some sort of fun give to those soldiers. I mean, they were taking shells or coffee cans to crank centers into the middle of the donut so that way they could put it on top of their bayonets or on their finger because of everything that they were carrying. I mean, and we actually have some video of when they were actually on the front lines with those soldiers where they picked up a bayonet of themselves. I mean, and these are women. I mean, 18 to 24 years old.
But even now, as I interrupted, as you were going through this list, you have thousands of meals you give out every year, every week. You give out meals, pay for homeless people. Give me the list real quick so I can.
So in terms of food, we do monthly food boxes for those who come through. During the holidays, we do food boxes specifically for seniors for Thanksgiving as well as for Christmas. Every third Thursday, we're out over at the Hope House doing hot meals for the homeless. We usually range between 70 to 90 meals there. Thanksgiving coming up, we are going to be having a big, huge Thanksgiving meal. The last few years, it's been over 1,000 people who we have they've walked up to pick up, or we were able to deliver to shut-ins, or we were able to feed those in the apartment complexes that were close to us. We're always... And then, or you have somebody just like yesterday afternoon who comes to our door who is hungry, who hasn't eaten anything for almost 2 days, that we're able to give him basically a bag lunch and a few waters. So
that's right. We were talking on the phone and you said, I'm sorry, Paul, I have a hungry person here. I'm going to have to let you go. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah.
And you went and that happened right then when we were on obviously every day people just walk up. And then also the angel tree.
Yes.
So that's not necessarily a person that's starving to death or homeless, but an opportunity for why do you do the angel tree?
So like I said, so angel tree is children literally birth to age 12. It serves you can really see the impact in our parishes during Angel Tree. It's really cool to actually see all of the bags when they come in across our gym floor. But one of the things you get last year, it was actually a gentleman from Webster Parish that called me. He was a veteran. He said, I've always been able to pay my bills. He said, but my electric bill is the same price as my mortgage. He said, I have 3 boys. I have never been able to not get them Christmas. And he starts crying on the phone with me. And I, of course, am crying with him because I was very pregnant last year, and so that didn't help me at all.
You're not a crier, are you?
No, not in the least bit. But just hearing how thankful, because he kept saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Right. And they want the most basic thing. They want Legos. They want Nerf guns. They want clothes to put on their back or for school. It's not your high-end, expensive, I want a $700 iPad. No, these are the things that you can easily pick up off the shelves in Walmart. And we're looking to have around 1,700 to 1,800 kids again this year.
Wow. When you call it an angel tree, is the kids' names on the tree? Do you buy the gifts? How does it work?
So each of our angels actually gets their own individual tag. You get to learn their first name, kind of their age, their gender, and what they'd like for Christmas. Whether it's Paw Patrol and Cocoa Melon, or whether it's maybe a tablet and headphones for our older kids, because a few of those tablets have now become a lot more affordable to get. But we want to make sure that these kids feel special and they don't wake up Christmas morning with nothing.
Yeah. So we're about out of time, but let me ask you this, because I know some people, based on your stories and seeing your heart in this, are going to want to contribute.
Yes.
If there's somebody out there that would like to make a donation, obviously the red kettles are coming up, but we're still probably another month away from that at least.
Nope, just a week.
Just a week away. Okay. Well, in the interim, if they want to make a donation or they don't want to go down to the store, what is the best way for them to do that?
They can mail it to us at 200 East Stoner if they prefer to write a check. If they want to do an online donation, you can search Salvation Army Northwest Louisiana and our website will pull up, and they can donate online that way. And of course, if someone said, I don't really want to do financial, but I'd love to put more food in your pantry, we're going to take it. I mean, we at the moment,
volunteers for your kettles.
Volunteers, yes, please, and thank you. We love them too, the world and back, because they are the army behind us. Because we can't do so much without them.
And can you volunteer? Say we're going to have our Sunday school wants to do 3 weekends this season, or you don't have to sign up in your 40 hours a week. It's
No, you can sign up. We'll be ringing from Tuesday through Saturday. We have about 38 locations this Christmas season that we're going to be able to have the potential to ring at. And each time, whether you want to volunteer for 2 hours or whether you want to get a group and hash up a whole day, we're going to make it work.
Wonderful. That's great.
And then one more thing, if a group or a person says, I want to do Christmas for one of these kids on the angel tree, where do you find that? Where's the angel tree? Where do you get the names?
So there's going to be multiple different locations all around town. Of course, both the malls are going to have angel trees. We have one here at the core. The other thing is they can give us a call at 318-424-3200, and they can say, hey, I want a family of 5, and I'll be like, all right, where are you at? And I will drive it to you.
Wow.
Because when it comes to kids and when it comes to those in need, especially, I want to see it happen, and we coordinate. Right now, I've been working with our businesses that have actually adopted from last year, and I want to say so far 90% of them have come back on board. There's just a couple voicemails I'm waiting for them to answer, but it's a lot of fun. You get really attached to these kids. I actually had someone earlier asked me, they're like, hey, the kid I adopted last year, is she back on Angel Tree? Can I get her again?
Oh, that's sweet. So is there do they know who it is? Is it?
Yes and no. Okay. So you kind of get an idea based on the first name, but you don't really know where they're from.
Right.
We do.
They still get that feeling though.
Yes. But it is those who are in Caddo Bossier, it's those who are in DeSoto, it's those who are in Sabine, Red River, Webster, and Claiborne.
Good.
And Bienville.
Well, I usually don't pass up those buckets, but this year I'm definitely not going to pass up any of those buckets. Are you going to carry some change, or are you just going to go with the QR code?
I've got a bucket at home full of change. I think I'll just, before I go to the Walmart in Bossier, I know you guys are there. Yeah. I'm not that cheap, I guess. You calling me out here, Paul?
I'm just glad Bimefor's not here.
Just dump the whole bucket in there.
Hey, we'll take it. We will take it. But the other thing is you can fundraise for us. Like I was saying, you can go on our website, NWLA Empty Stocking. You can say, hey, I want to fundraise, say $500 this year for Salvation Army. And every single penny that your fundraiser page, you can see all your friends and family who have donated.
Wonderful.
And you can say thank you to them too, because every dollar counts. Those reoccurring $5 donations that we get, those are some of my most favorite people, because I know no matter how small, we're going to use it. We're going to make a purpose with it.
87% of that's going right to that. Julie, I love your passion, and I appreciate you coming out.
Well, I appreciate y'all having me, and it's an absolute blessing to be here.
All right. Well, thank you, Julie, so much, and Paul, always a pleasure.
Thanks,
thanks so much for watching, and for those of you listening, thanks for listening, and of course, if you can, reach out and help the Salvation Army of Northwest Louisiana. We'll see you later.